Hi, this is Les-Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. I thought Bud Selig was a great automobile dealer in Milwaukee, but had no knowledge of the game of baseball despite making an awful lot of money for other baseball owners. Apparently, he's now considered a great commissioner. His successor, Rob-Manfred, is not, and he gets worse every day. Today, he doubled down on doing whatever he can to protect the 2017 Houston Astros by warning everybody else that throwing at a batter will result in serious punishment. Apparently, Rob can read minds and know what the pitchers are supposed to do. He's also allowing pitchers another 25% less of a non-pitching zone, and by not worrying about high and tight pitches, the commish is giving the batters the same thing they got from the drum beating in the dugout. If this doesn't give the Astros another advantage, maybe next year they'll play Dad's pitch. We've got Bud Shaw here. More Sports and Les-Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les-Levine, it is a Tuesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les-Levine into its 24th consecutive year, exclusively seen here on cleveland.com. Exclusively tonight, I don't know what you're doing after the show, but at least up until 7 o'clock tonight Eastern Time, Bud Shaw. I got the exclusive rights to Bud Shaw tonight.
Exactly. Not that they're worth much, but you have them.
All right, lots to talk about for a non-part of the season without games. Lots of stuff continues to happen in Cleveland. Have you noticed that over the last 30 years that you've been here?
I've noticed that coaches seem to come and go.
Mostly go.
How's that for insight?
Mostly go unless you're Mike Brown. You come and go and come and go.
Come and go, and yeah. You know, I heard a discussion on radio the other day about whether the John-Beilein hire was worse than or better than the David Blatt hire. It's an interesting conversation.
And how did it go?
Well, I mean, from one standpoint, I think the Blatt hire made more sense. In that
you didn't have LeBron James at the time.
You didn't have LeBron yet. You had a young team.
Right.
You had a guy who was very successful coaching professional basketball.
Right.
Just not in this country.
Right. And then you have Beilein, who coached young guys like the Cavaliers have for the most part.
Yeah, but you know, there's a different. It's not so much the age difference. Like he coached them when they were 18 years old at Michigan, and now he's coaching guys that are 20 years old in the pros. Some of them. I just think it's the millionaire versus student athlete. Well, if we pretend that that's a real amateur term, I just think that it becomes hard, and I don't think it takes long for these guys to dismiss a college coach's system and his scheme if it doesn't result in them getting the ball and getting shots. All
right, I'm assuming in the next week or a couple of days we're going to find out most of the stuff that went down here. What are you thinking that Beilein, despite what he told Gilbert, because this is about what this team expected to be, right? Win a fourth of the games?
Yeah, I think so. I just saw a guy who, from the beginning of games in preseason, didn't just look like he wasn't enjoying himself very much. And now we know there were a couple of other stories that come out of that. The whole, did he call them thugs or slugs or whatever? I mean, it's just kind of odd things. And we know his son went through, had some personal issues, lost the job at Niagara as head coach. Maybe that wore on him a little bit, but for him to walk away as we think he is from you know, at least $20 million or more tells you just how much he wanted to see this part of his career
Number
end.
one, in talking, because I remember before they hired him or when they hired him, they told us about what happened prior to the hiring. He talked to they listed 8 or 10 former coaches who would coach in the NBA and at college, and they seemed to work out whatever those problems might be.
Yeah, I don't think he went into it blind. I just think until you go through a season. I mean, I wrote something last week saying that, you know, they win a game right before the break. Now they've got this break, and he has 5 restful days to think about the fact that he's got a whole nother college basketball season to go with this team. I mean, he has another 28 or 29 games to go. I just don't think coaches and even some players, but coaches in particular who come in from college, realize what a grind the NBA is.
No, but didn't you think, now you can see he couldn't handle that, but didn't you think when they hired him that if anybody could, it might be him?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was a really solid offensive mind who was successful, had developed players who weren't necessarily five-star recruits into NBA lottery picks. So yeah, I didn't think it was a terrible hire when it was made. For sure.
And I thought one impressive thing is that he had several former NBA players who sent his sons to play for him, which means he must have known something how to get guys ready for NBA battle.
Yeah, I mean, when you look now though at that list, Les, of coaches that the Cavs have hired since 2013, it's just as lengthy as the one the Browns have. Yeah. So, and then sitting way over here is Terry Francona.
Just having winning season
and
after winning season.
I think Dan Labby, who you're going to have on, I think tomorrow night, tweeted something that made me laugh last night. He said, "Aha, yeah, just like the Indians to be too cheap to fire their manager." You know, I mean,
couldn't pay him out.
Yeah, couldn't buy him out. So
216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show at real-levine@gmail.com. All right, before we get to your opening comment. We haven't seen you since the latest Myles-Garrett thing came about. Just an overview of that.
Well, again, my take on it was that he was needlessly covering old ground again. He got reinstated. He got an ESPN interview. You know, certainly he didn't raise the topic, but he was asked about it, and he could easily have just said, "You know what? I'm not talking about that anymore. I'm done talking about it. I'm done talking about it. I had my say. You know, I'm happy to be back in the league." But instead, he not only made the same allegations against Mason-Rudolph, but he now has brought in this conspiracy theory that the league is trying to squash the audio to protect their image, because they certainly don't want to be a league where a white player uses that word against a black opponent.
Right. Then you get Mike Tomlin, coach of Pittsburgh, getting involved also, so that gets nasty too.
Yeah, and I'm sure Tomlin feels very strongly that you know, it's not like Mason-Rudolph is his franchise quarterback, and
third stringer,
and that he feels like he's got to come to his defense to save the next season with his teammates. I think he really believes, as people do over there, that Rudolph didn't say this. That if it was such a terrible thing and it was said that Garrett would have mentioned it the night that it happened. And I don't think that's necessarily fair if he wasn't sure yet whether he wanted to mention it. John Dorsey has just come out in the last couple days and said that what Garrett said in this ESPN interview is consistent with what he told Dorsey the night that it happened. So there's just my only issue is not that Garrett shouldn't have his say about this still if he really feels that this happened and that Rudolph didn't pay a price for it. It's just that I don't see what the end game is for him. He either comes off looking like he's lying about it, or he's going to be accused of lying about it, or he looks like he's really not over it and he's using it to justify what he did.
Back in the news. All right, so you've just talked, before your opening comment, you've talked about basketball. And before your opening comment, you talked about football. What the heck are you going to talk about for your opening comment?
I think I've buried the lead, because the one story that everybody in town really cares a lot more about probably right now is Frankie Lindor and the fact that there's some conversation going on.
Here's Bud Shaw.
Thanks, Les. The Indians and Francisco Lindor are talking contract, which is better than not talking contract, especially for the Indians from a PR standpoint. The more Lindor talks about loving Cleveland and wanting to bring a championship here, the more some fans will use it to bash the Dolans for not being able to keep star talent. Even though when the same kind of star talent came of age under Dick Jacobs, they too left for bigger money or were traded first. The Indians have to be seen as pursuing Lindor whether or not they land him. This is not to suggest it's all one big game. Terms of the offer they make will no doubt get leaked and shared around baseball. But in the end, that offer will pose a question to Lindor that he has yet to answer. Frankie, you say you want to win titles here, but will you take less money to ensure the Indians can build around you? I don't blame him if the answer is no, but to me, that's the issue here.
And the Indians are sort of on record as saying they would not commit more than 25% of the team's payroll to one guy.
And he's a fantastic player. I mean, he plays one of the most important, I think the most important defensive position?
Well, catcher.
One of, okay. He's a guy that likely, from the sounds of it, they'll drop into the number 3 spot in the lineup this year, maybe, or keep it at leadoff. He lights up the stadium. He lights up the town. He's got a great attitude about baseball. I could see why they would go above and beyond the norm to try to keep him. I just think in the end, he's going to have an agent saying, are you really willing to let dozens of millions of dollars, $50 million sit on the table because you turned down another job somewhere?
Jeff Phelps of 92.3 The Fans has had a study in front of him today that said he took the top 10 paid guys in baseball from last year, and 6 of them were pitchers, 4 of them were position players. None of the position players made it to the postseason, and 5 of the 6 pitchers did. So you can make an argument, although I don't think if you're going to use that 25% of the payroll, I don't think you'd use it in this case. But you can make an argument that if you're going to spend that kind of money, you spend it on the best pitcher rather than the best player.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive because you would think, well, why would I do that? When I could have Frankie Lindor 5 days out of 5 days, why would I give it to a pitcher and only get him 1 day out of 5?
But if you go by the 1 year, and I know that's a short sample size, that's what it shows.
Yeah.
216-575-0403, the number to call. Bud Shaw is with us, WKYC.com. Did you know the Ohio Lottery has paid out over $1 billion in winnings over the last 6 months? People are winning in record numbers, and winning is happening all around the state. Play an Ohio Lottery game and play it today. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine with new content posted each and every day. When we come back, we'll talk about Lindor, but with a guy who's involved in it. That would be Chris-Antonetti, president of baseball operations for the Cleveland Indians. Back in a moment, More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
He's such an incredible player. He's a great teammate. He's a pillar in the community. He's everything that you'd want a player to be. And so, normally I don't comment too much on particulars, but I'll kind of make an exception in this case with Francisco because I think he's deserving of it. We'd love for Francisco to be here long term. I think Francisco shares that desire. We have, and our ownership has, made meaningful efforts to try to do that, and so has Francisco. And he and his representative, David Meter, continue to express to both us publicly and privately that he'd like to stay here and like to stay in Cleveland. And I think that's been consistent with what he shared with all of you. Now, how do we make that happen is where it gets difficult. And it's a really hard situation, primarily because of the, it's not because of a lack of desire. It's not because of a lack of desire on our part, or not because of a lack of desire on Francisco's part, but more when you look at the economics of baseball and the realities of building championship teams in a small market, it gets really tough. And so the interest is there, the desire is there on both sides to try to get something done, and whether or not that's possible, we just don't know.
Do you still see a path toward making that happen? Because if he signs the kind of contract that he could command in the open market, you're looking at him and one player absorbing maybe a quarter of your payroll. Is there a model where you could build a consistent winner under those circumstances?
And that's the biggest challenge. Again, it's not the desire. I think both Francisco's been pretty clear about how he feels. I think we're pretty clear on what we would like to see happen. But is there that right value in which we can still, we can extend Francisco and still build a championship team around him? Because that's really what we're seeking to do. And that's ultimately what Francisco would want too. He doesn't want this signed in Cleveland for a long term and have that compromise our ability to build a championship team.
And that's
Okay, Chris-Antonetti, until he said what he said at the end, some people might think, oh, they might be only $1 million apart or something like that. The problem is we're talking multi-millions year after year after year. I think that's what fans are confused with.
Yeah, and I think this was smart by the Indians. And again, I'm not saying they did it for this reason. I'm sure they wanted to revisit where he and his agent believe they are. But they had been taking it on the chin. Every time Francisco Lindor says, I love Cleveland, I want to stay here, I get emails and look on Twitter and people are saying, oh, see that, he wants to be here, and then the Dolans still won't make it happen. Well, that's not the issue. The issue is he willing to take less? Because if he's not going to stay here.
Right.
I mean,
Cleveland's not
tell
gonna
me
be the
what
biggest
guy did. Who signed here before?
Nobody, and I was just thinking as Chris-Antonetti was going through the litany of things on both sides of the issue, I'm thinking they didn't even talk that nice about Jim Thome when they had the opportunity. I mean, they're going, it's scripted. We know it's scripted, and that's okay. That's the way it's done these days.
I think they have to prove to the fan base that they're making a reasonable, valid effort to keep one of the hallmark players in the game right now, and they should be. So, but the idea that since they both want this to happen, that's a good sign, I'm not quite buying that yet.
Okay, so, but you think they're sincere? Both sides are sincere? Yeah,
I mean,
I do too.
Why wouldn't they want to keep him?
No.
And why wouldn't he want to be here?
No, but they put up a fight against Thome a little bit. And Thome was as beloved in their minds as anybody we've had.
Well, when you say put up a fight against him, what do you mean? Did they?
I think they made it, when it was all said and done and they compared it came out what we thought was the offer, it wasn't a sincere offer.
Well, it certainly wasn't anywhere close to turning his head. And,
correct.
And I think the same thing is going to happen here. I do. And I wouldn't say it's an insincere offer because of that. I would just say it's going to be an inadequate offer.
All right, so if they hold fast to that 25% figure, that they don't want it more than that tied up in one player, is it possible they can come up? Although they've got some guys on the cheap. You know, Ramirez is on the cheap. A couple of other guys are.
You know, I guess one of the questions, and I don't mean this to turn it around to the fans, I'm just curious what you think. If they signed him tomorrow to a 8-year, $275 million deal, okay?
How much is that a year?
It's over 30.
Okay.
30, 35, something like that. How many season tickets would they sell before the season
nowhere near
starts?
that. Well, first of all, you'd have to spread it out over those 8 to 10 years. Yeah. I don't know
would
that it would
sell
be totally
10,000 more? Would they sell
for this
2,000 more?
For this year?
Yeah, I mean he's going to be here anyway.
Yeah. Well,
I mean he's here now, and nobody's rushing.
No, but if they did that, if they offered him 10 years,
8 years.
8 years. I'm sorry, even more so. If they offered him 8 years, the fans who've been complaining about Dolan and how they treat players like that, I think it would be incumbent upon them to go to the phones, go to the box office and do something, because that's what you've been asking them to do.
And I think some still will. But in this, we talk about this climate, are people going to buy season tickets for a team that it's hard to watch climate-wise for the first 2.5 months of the season?
You can't sell tickets
sometimes.
April and May. We know that.
So anyway, that's all. And I'm not saying that because of that they shouldn't make a real offer to him. No, they should try to get him. And if there's any way possible, you would think that would be the signing. That we talk about how if the 2016 World Series had gone the Indians' way, the Dolans would sort of be off the hook with the fan base. That would be the signing that would get him off the hook.
All right, that all being said, I think they proved it last year, not to say they can prove it again this year, or not to say it's not a small sample size. But if you didn't have Lindor and you had the kind of pitching you had last year and this year, you could still make a run in this division. Now, would you rather have Lindor? And the answer, of course, is yes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think the only way I could see the Dolans, if they make a sincere offer, and if we learn that he's turned down that's going to be the thing. Well, he's decided not to accept a $200 million offer. Say they offer him 8 years, $200 million.
Okay.
And he goes, no, that's just, sorry.
Yeah,
so
and another $1 million won't help.
Then who does the onus go on at that point? Does it go on Lindor or does it stay on the Indians?
Well,
but the only way I think if they make a legitimate offer like that and he turns it down, the only way they could really fall out of favor with fans again soon would be if it's trade season and they're still in the hunt, trade deadline, and they're in the hunt and they decide to trade him anyway. Then I think fans would go.
If you're a Detroit Tiger fan,
mm-hmm.
and you paid the price for Miguel Cabrera,
mm-hmm.
which is totally outrageous. I don't even remember what the numbers are. But he gave them 3 or 4 good years out of that, and that's it, assuming he doesn't make a miraculous recovery from whatever he's got. If you're a Detroit Tiger fan, do you pay the price of not being competitive for 6-7 years to get those 3 years out of Cabrera?
I wouldn't be too happy about it, would you?
No.
So that's the question. And, listen, I think we know the answer. I think we know that he's not going to re-sign here. But right now, I don't blame him for saying he wants to, and I don't blame the Indians for saying they want him to, and that they're going to do their best.
Here's what I suggest they do. Go to Northeast Factory Direct. Each one sit in the hot tub, one side sit in a couch, and you say, all right, I can get you for less than half price at Northeast Factory Direct.
There you go. I like
and whichever side you're on, that's what side's going to be the winner. West 140th Street, as well as Lakeland Boulevard, that's in Euclid. Freeway Drive on the south, that's in Macedonia. And of course, you want to go first to northeastfactorydirect.com, and you're going to pay less than half price on just about everything in the store. Even more than that will be taken off the final cost, because Alex doesn't have the overhead that most of the big box, all of the big box stores have. northeastfactorydirect.com. We'll take a break. More criticism coming our way from about Myles-Garrett. Shannon Sharp had some things to say. We'll check that out when we get back with Bud Shaw. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Celebrate Nature Stone's 30-year anniversary with a free Nature Stone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making Nature Stone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say it's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
Just because I'm not $1 million price doesn't mean I'm worthless. We middle prices get zero respect. We're worth hundreds, even thousands. I mean, I'm a handsome bag of money. And there's $110 million worth of us in the Ohio Lottery Cash Celebration scratch-off alone. Plus, the odds of winning are off the chart. 1 in 3.
Play the $30 cash celebration for a chance to win up to $1 million.
You see?
Oh, and lots of prizes between $100 and $1,000.
Everybody wants $1 million. Would $500 be so bad? Come on.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
This portion of More Sports and Les-Levine brought to you by Tri-C. Birthdays for today, Joe Gordon, great player with the Yankees, Indians manager who actually got traded for Jimmy Dykes. Len Ford, the Hall of Fame defensive end for the Browns. Sherman Tanks, Mo Lucas, Didi Gregorius, and Le'Veon Bell. all celebrating birthdays on the 18th of February. Bud, give you a little practice on grading How Come Quickies, which we'll do a little bit later. This from our creative writing staff. How come if there is 2% milk, there isn't 2% soda pop?
I'm going to give that
It's short.
a 9 because of its brevity.
So we can get on to the real ones later in the show. We've never. What is it that the commissioner should do to the World Series?
Suspend?
No.
Rescind?
It didn't happen.
Yeah, erase the.
Yeah, neither of us can think of the word.
Take the World Series
and debunk
trophy
the theory.
away.
Yeah.
Vacate it.
Vacate it. That's the word. So you can't vacate quickies.
If you could, we would have done it by now.
Shannon Sharp had some things to say on FS1 today about Myles-Garrett. Let's take a look at that. What he's telling me is that he's not sorry for what he did. He's learned absolutely nothing. If we're not careful, we'll find Myles-Garrett back in this situation. Really, Myles, what do you hope to be doubling down for? You're asking for a lawsuit because you're impugning this man's reputation. I just hope I understand what Myles-Garrett is hoping to accomplish in this situation. He's not showing contrition for his actions. He's saying the reason why he did it was because of what he did.
Well, actually, he's sending a mixed message. He's saying, this is what he called me. I'm not saying it's the reason why I did it,
right,
but I just want you to know this is what he called me.
Well, he killed two birds with one stone. If that, in fact, is what happened, he got the word out as what was said, and he defended what he did. Well, which he didn't have to defend. It's impossible to defend what he did.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying. I think while he's trying to say that it's over with and that he's moving on and all that, he found a curious way to do that by bringing it all up again and causing this. So now this has been a topic for a week of sports talk and ESPN, and when it gets closer to the season and they're going to play the Steelers again, we're going to go through the whole thing again.
Stefanski will not be wearing a sweatshirt, a T-shirt that says it started in
I don't think
Pittsburgh.
I don't think we'll see that. But the thing about it is, Myles-Garrett, the one thing he has going against him, Les, I think, is that he punched a guy in the opener of the season, punched him in the face. He lost his cool in the beginning of the season, and nothing was said then that we know of. He didn't claim that anybody said anything to him. So he has this kind of reputation of going off and losing his head on the football field.
And he'll be watched closer now too.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Right,
this idea that somebody had to say something to trigger that kind of reaction, that certainly wasn't the case in the opener, is all I'm trying to say.
All right, you're Kevin Stefanski. You come in here, within a couple of days you have Odell Beckham, right? And then you have this Myles-Garrett situation. Supposedly he talked to Garrett. I don't know that he's talked to Myles. Has he, in your knowledge?
I don't know that. I don't
know that either. But if you're Kevin Stefanski, okay, you got Beckham. You talk to him at that point. What do you say to a guy you hadn't met before? In Myles-Garrett.
In Myles-Garrett, I guess I would just say to him, listen, not having you on a football field for 6 weeks last year probably cost this team its a run into the playoffs, possibly its head coach, maybe its GM. And we need you on the field. We can't have this kind of stuff. Put it behind you. Dedicate yourself to being a great defensive end and let that be your focus. Let's not relive this story that's going to go nowhere. There's two guys that were down at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, he said.
And you're not going to get to the bottom of this. And if anything, if Mason-Rudolph follows through, there's going to be a defamation suit. Yeah. There's going to be testimony.
Twice a year when they play each other.
Yeah, and drag through the court if it gets that far.
All right, let's go back to role playing here. If you're Kevin Stefanski, one of the knocks against him and Freddie Kitchens and a whole bunch of other people who've been hired here is that they hadn't had any track record as a head coach, and they'll be facing things they hadn't faced before. This is one of those cases. So here it is, mid-February, still far enough away from the next season. Is this kind of a good thing to happen so Stefanski can practice here and what to do, or make it a learning experience for everybody?
I think he's probably, having gone through the Vikings thing last year, where the wide receivers were unhappy with Cousins early in the season. He was the offensive coordinator at the time. I think he's had a little more experience in the past than Freddie had, putting out these kind of fires and dealing with these kind of personality conflicts. So I think he's a little more experienced in that. I don't think he necessarily needs this thing. If we've learned anything less over the years, it's that things that happen in January, February, March, April, May, they don't matter, because it always seems like they're prepping for the season until that season starts and everything starts going every which way at 100 miles an hour on game day.
Okay, but here's the problem.
Yeah.
You got Andrew Berry, who's 32 years old, first-time GM.
Yep.
You got Jimmy Haslam, who since 2012 has owned the Cleveland Browns and has a horrendous track record of hiring and having to fire people in the front office. I don't even know what the numbers are anymore. But if you're sitting there with Haslam and Berry and Stefanski, who's leading this? Who knows what is involved here? Who knows how to get them out of this fix?
It's a good question. I think you're going to be leaning on Stefanski to do it. I mean, DePodesta, I would say, but then, you know, he's not there all the time. So he's in California, and he's, you know, given them the parameters and the structure of what he thinks an organization in the NFL should run like in 2020. But it's going to come down to the head coach. I mean, the head coach needs to be the leading man of an organization. And that's the case in Pittsburgh. It's the case in Baltimore.
If the owner will let him.
It was the case in Cincinnati. And this ownership needs to not get involved on a daily basis. And that's the thing that they've been unable to do up to this point.
216-575-0403. You can email us during the show at real-les-levine@gmail.com. You can explore your interests, find a program that puts you on a path to a bright future. Tri-C offers more than 1,000 courses and over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tri-c.edu to find out more. We'll come back in a moment. We'll also take a look at some potential roster cuts from the Browns, see if they can chop some money off that and get more to spend. More Sports and Les Levine with Bud Shaw continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Take a look at this date, a sad date in sports history. Dale Earnhardt, just a year ago, was killed at the Daytona 500. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. All right, Browns made some roster cuts. Any of those surprise you, the four that they made a couple of days ago?
No, none of them.
Not even T.J. Carey?
No, I kind of thought that was going to happen with him.
Why, because of the amount of money or the way he played?
Yeah, both. Just I don't think he had a great season and the money that he was coming.
All right, some potential roster cuts are more of the guys that you've heard of, and you'll wonder if they can still play, so let's take a look at it. Christian-Kirksey is one. The linebacker has signed a 4-year, $38 million extension in 2017. His contract counts for $9.9 million against the cap in 2020. Browns would be hit with a $2.4 million dead cap if they cut him. Only played 9 games in the last 2 seasons due to injuries. You want to keep him or you want to unload him?
No, I could move on from him.
Move on from Christian-Kirksey. Olivier-Vernon, defensive end, entering the final year of a 5-year deal. Contract counts for, $15.5 million against the salary cap in 2020, but he wouldn't cost the Browns anything in the salary cap if released. That's what fans have no clue what this means.
Yeah.
Looks like $15 million one way and then 0 the next.
Yeah, I still think he's a really talented player, and I think injuries just ruined him last year. I thought when he was on the field, I thought he was very effective.
Chris Hubbard, offensive lineman, entering his 3rd year of a 5-year deal, $36.5 million contract, counts $7.2 million against the cap in 2020, but it would save most of the $5 million in cap space. 8 penalties, 6 sacks allowed in 2019.
No, I just think they can do better there. I think they need to upgrade the whole offensive line, both through free agency and the draft.
All right, if you're a new coach coming into a new organization, you probably think you've got guys who can play better, right?
Mostly that happens, yeah.
Let's take a look at what Stefanski might be looking at as far as former Minnesota-Vikings players that the Browns might take a look at. Everson Griffin is a defensive end. He's 32 years old, 10 NFL seasons. These guys aren't free agents yet, but some might be soon. 41 tackles, 11 tackles for losses. That's in 2019, and he had 24 quarterback hits. That's pretty impressive right there. Everson Griffin. Let's take a look as we continue on. Let's take a look at Anthony Harris. Anthony Harris, a safety, 6'1", 202, 28 years old. 5th year in the NFL, 6 interceptions last year. It tied for the most in the NFL. 9 career interceptions, all in the last 2 seasons.
Certainly a position of need there with safety.
Trey Waynes, a cornerback, 6 foot, even, 190, 27 years old, another 5 years in the NFL. 58 tackles, 1 INT, 2 forced fumbles in 2019, and a total of 7 career interceptions. And finally, let's go on to Mackenzie Alexander. He's a cornerback, 5'10", 192, 26 years old, 4 NFL seasons, 38 tackles, 1 INT, 6 passes defended in 2019, 103 tackles, 2 interceptions, 21 passes defended in his career. We don't get to see a lot of Minnesota Vikings games, so it's hard to say if these guys can still play or not.
Yeah, usually when these coaches come in, they tend to recruit from their former team on their side of the ball. Like we saw it with Belichick bringing in Pepper Johnson.
Yeah, you look at that and say, where are the offensive guys?
Yeah,
well,
so
apparently they didn't have any.
It'll be interesting. Browns are making a couple of coaches available out there on Wednesday. I'm sure people will be reading about those interviews, Joe Wood being one of them.
You're talking about tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow. So I think Alex Van Pelt, Prefer, and the new defensive coordinator are supposed to be out there talking about their
that'll
positions.
Be interesting. They've been here a couple of weeks now. 216-575-0403 is the number to call if you'd like to get in. One more segment of phone calls, then we'll get to quickies. So lines are open. If you'd like to get in, you could do that right now. Northeast Factory Direct with 4 great locations, plus the great website, northeastfactorydirect.com. They are east, they are west, they are south, and they're going to save you more than half price. Alex started the business 20 years ago with 1 piece of furniture and a garage in Lakewood, and he found out how well you can do if you don't have to worry about overhead, and that's one of the ways he saves you a lot of money. He's got practically pays about 1/10 what you're going to find at big box stores as far as the rent is concerned, and he passes those savings directly on to you. You could save 30, 40, 50, 60, sometimes 70% at Northeast Factory Direct or northeastfactorydirect.com. Sokolowski's University Inn, we don't talk much about this, but the moderate prices. You think of this place as famous as it is all over the country, and you think they gouge you. No, it's not the case. And the demographics are very interesting. You go there on a Friday or Saturday night, and I know Bud has done this, and you'll see people from 15 years old to 85 years old. Right, Bud?
That's absolutely true. One of my favorite places.
Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn. We'll come on back in a moment. More Sports and Les-Levine continues. Coming up, the Facebook question of the day. We're exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your basement flooring again. Your concrete is uneven, damp, and not healthy. Carpet and tile don't last, breed mold and mildew, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects uneven concrete and is not affected by dampness or moisture. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of February. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Let's take a look at this date in Les-Levine history, February 18th, 2005. Les's doctor tells him to walk 5 miles a day. After 10 days and 50 miles away from home, he calls his brother to get him a quick ride back to his house. You think that's been used before?
It sounds a little familiar.
Well, let me tell you something. You're probably,
maybe I've heard your one of your brothers tell that story. Maybe that's why.
It does say February 18th, and whatever year it happens to be. So, of course, it's been used. If it's been used on February 18th in other years.
By the way,
yeah.
Is it not true that it's one of your brother's birthdays today?
Wow.
I saw this on Facebook.
Yeah, my brother Bill.
So why didn't he get a notice up here for birthdays today?
Well, it's a good reason. A very good reason, of which I forgot. But I just remembered it. All the guys, the 17 people that it takes to put on the show, those guys in the back room, they always want to put their brothers, their uncle's name in, and that's nice, but they can call them. You know, phones these days are the only thing that's cheaper today than making long-distance calls are cheaper today than they ever were.
True, okay. I think your brother knows where he stands.
He's the best younger brother I've ever had.
There you go.
By the way, I'm going to read, these are not quickies that I'm going to read, but I'm going to tell you this, Bud. You better have your pen sharpened because there are some excellent How Come Quickies coming up.
Huh.
I don't say excellent very often.
I know you don't.
But I'm saying it now.
You don't even say good very often.
This is good and excellent. This is from Evan from Palm Bay, Florida. Where would Palm Bay, Florida be? I know Palm Beach. I know all the bays.
I would guess it's near Palm Beach. On the bay.
Yeah. All right. Want to fix baseball? Start by throwing Manfred over a bridge. That is not. I'm not condoning anything.
Yes, the opinions of the emailers.
Palm Bay, Florida. He goes on to say, it's plain to see that Manfred is a lame duck commissioner. 2 years ago, instead of immediately moving the foul ball nets to protect fans, he decided that Chief Wahoo was racist and it should be removed from our beloved tribe, despite numerous polls being in favor of keeping the chief by nearly 70%. He appeased the small percentage while ignoring the majority. To me, that's lame duck.
Lame or lame duck?
Well, he says lame duck.
He certainly didn't help himself when he referred to the trophy as a piece of metal.
No.
That was, and he has since come out and apologized for that.
I mean, nobody says the Stanley Cup is just his drinking
Exactly,
thing.
yeah.
All right, this from David, who claims to be an attorney, and I say he is. I'm not going to argue with an attorney. I love it when sports guys say there's no evidence. If it wasn't caught on tape, there's still evidence, as Garrett heard the statement. That's evidence, and the fact that it wasn't recorded does nothing to deplete the evidence that exists by Garrett saying he heard him say a statement. Tomlin didn't, and he couldn't have heard whether a statement was made, but he's supporting the integrity of his team.
Well,
This is
I need a
no-win
refresher
situation.
on this. How?
Of what?
It may be evidence, but it's very weak evidence if it can't be corroborated, no?
If you can't produce it, there's no evidence.
I mean, if
Not
I
that I'm
say
supporting,
if I say I saw
impeachment one way or the
if
other.
I saw you walk into a bank with a ski mask on,
Yeah.
and you say you didn't, why is yours evidence and mine not?
No, unless there's a third one that comes aboard and says something,
Listen,
which isn't necessarily evidence anyway.
I don't know enough to believe or disbelieve either person. And just because you're in Cleveland, you're going to support the guy that you think is the good guy. And they're doing the same thing in Pittsburgh. So I don't know what the answer is unless we had audio, and we were just told by an audio expert.
We were given evidence. Let me see if, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, you're wrong.
Or Mike can correct me if I'm wrong. Well, we were told by people who know stuff. Those mics that you hear, for example, with Peyton Manning, Omaha, and all that stuff, that's one mic going directly to where Manning is. If you move it over a foot, as an example, it's not going to give you the same sound. So you can say there's a whole bunch of mics out there on the field, but unless it's honed right in on Garrett and the quarterback,
Rudolph,
Mason-Rudolph, there's no. It didn't happen. If you move it a foot away from the intended zone.
Yeah,
Hold on one second, Mike. Did I get that about right?
No.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. That's evidence. Pretty close.
That was very nice of you to say.
Well, he's protecting me. My stupidity is for, when I started in this business, I wanted to have a lengthy career without ever touching one piece of equipment. And so far, I haven't touched any
you're
equipment.
well on your way. You're halfway through and you're well on your way.
All right. Before we're going to take a break and then get you ready for quickies, I got a stack of them. And I'm telling you, a couple of them are pretty good. I'm not going to tell you which ones are good. Like, I'm not going to say, Bud, here comes a good one.
You do realize that quantity and quality are two different things,
yes.
correct?
All right. Yeah, I do know that.
All right.
So anything you want to add? The spring training underway now.
Mm-hmm.
I did 92.3 The Fan the other day, walked in at 9:30, 9 o'clock, and first name I'm greeted by is Mike-Clevinger. Do you immediately say only in Cleveland, or do you say, hey, he'll only be out 6 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think you feel better about that timing because you've seen him come back from something last year and come back really well, missing time during the season with a pulled muscle in his back. I don't know whether the knee is more crucial than that. I know it's his plant leg, but anytime you're not messing with a pitcher's arm, shoulder, back, abdomen, I think you can come back from something.
You think
like that.
Houston, the Houston Astros are saying karma?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you, though, after talking with him at Tribe Fest, he's probably going to have to tone it down about his feelings about the Astros because as soon as he pitches inside against them, he's going to hear about it.
We have evidence.
Yeah.
All right, we have a Facebook question of the day and the responses. With spring training underway, which Indians player needs to step up in 2020? Bud, before we start, let's not count Lindor, okay?
I would say Franmil Reyes because I think they need his bat. And he may be required to play in the outfield once or twice.
How about Jose Ramirez having the same kind of second half that he had?
Yeah, and I think he came back last year,
he
so
did.
I think he did step
up. All right, let's
up.
put that up again so we can see, aside from Carlos Santana duplicating his output from a season ago, Ramirez must be the MVP candidate that he proved to be back in 2017. Let's continue on. Larry Pantages, let's cheer for Delano DeShields at the age of 27, showing flashes of Kenny Lofton. Or will it be the
flash in the pan?
Flash in the pan like George Banks, Ted Cox, who the Indians got from the Boston Red Sox. Alex Cole, were you here when Alex was here and they built a new fence for him?
I heard about that part. I will say this is a non-political show, and for you to call Ted Cruz a flash in the pan is uncalled for, sir. Uncalled for.
Okay.
Go ahead.
But Ted Cox is okay?
Ted Cox is all right.
All right. Glenn Berger says Jose Ramirez. I agree with him, but Bud refuted that by saying, hey, he had a good second half last year.
Yeah, what does Lawrence C. Butler say?
What's the difference? What does he know?
What does he know anyway? Oh, he didn't even chime in. Okay.
No, he didn't. All right, we're going to come back. Bud's going to grade some How Come Quickies, and we'll continue to chat. One line's open if you want to get in for the final section of the show. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your garage flooring again. Your concrete is cracked, uneven, and not safe. Paints and poly coatings don't last, are slippery, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects cracked, uneven concrete, eliminates slipping hazards, and is easy to clean. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of February. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
All right, tomorrow night, Dan Lobby, he's the one on the left.
One of my favorite guys from my Cleveland.com days.
Great
really
guy.
Good guy.
He will join us tomorrow. You see us live from 6 until 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can archive it all day long, anytime, 24 hours a day. New content posted each and every day on Facebook.com, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine. All right, Bud, you got that pen ready to go here?
I do.
All right, I'm going to go on record here. I didn't want to give away stuff before to taint you.
But it sounds like you're going to.
Well, I'm going to on this one because Big Ed is such a great contributor, but he's a little close to the line on the first one, so I'm not going to use it. I'm not saying it's not funny. I'm just not going to use it. Big Ed says, how come when my mom told my dad she wanted peace and quiet when she cooked dinner, he took the battery out of the smoke alarm? And made up for the one who was close to the line. What do you got?
8.8.
8.8.
And again, I'm leaving
room for the judges.
I'm like a figure skating judge.
All right, Stuart's got a good one here.
Now, see, you're doing it again.
I'm just saying he's got a good one. Not saying why. Oh, give a brief summation of how you grade. What you grade on, what you're looking for.
I like ones that I don't see coming. I didn't see that coming.
Okay.
The peace and quiet and the smoke alarm. I didn't see that coming. I don't like puns, plays on words, things that I can see coming from a mile away.
All right, so Stu, who's starting to contribute, he's kind of like, I think yesterday was Wally Pipp's birthday. He's sort of being like a little like Lou Gehrig, coming in every day, steady as you go. How come the spin rate is only used in baseball? If the NFL picked it up, Haslam's press conference would be #1. The spin rate.
He's right about that. He's right about that. It's a little long, but I'll give him an 8.0.
How about this one? He's saying Jimmy Haslam's famous quote, "We will not be aligned before it's time."
Aligned or maligned?
Aligned.
Okay. That was okay, but I'm not going to grade that.
All right, here's a good one from, I have no idea, M. Hoff. I think that's Mitch, I think. Hey, Les and Bud, how come we use jars for canning?
Okay, and I have to ask you something before I give a grade.
You can ask me about canning.
Have you heard that one before?
No.
No? Okay.
I have not.
All right.
Nor have I ever been canned.
It has sort of that park in the driveway, drive in the parkway kind of feel to it, but it's okay.
Well,
I hadn't heard it before.
They all stem from park in a driveway, drive in a parkway. This is Rick 309. Hey, Bud and Les. I usually comment on the Facebook question of the day, but today I thought I'd try a How Come Quickie. Hope it passes its audition. That's long already before he started. Here it goes. How come when the cardiologist decided to read a book on transplants rather than play a round of golf, he put the heart before the course?
Did you say he was from the 309? Did you say something about?
No, it's just maybe that's his birthday. Maybe March 9th. Maybe I gave away something I shouldn't have given away. I don't know.
309. Okay.
All right, instead of playing around, he read a book on transplants.
I'm
instead
giving
of playing
him a
around.
3.09.
He put the heart before the course, the play on the cart before the horse. Oh, man, you are tough.
Yeah, I'm not. I wasn't. It took me. It was long enough that I started.
You lost interest.
I lost interest.
This is from Mike, Toledo Mike. Always solid, but I'm giving it away. How come when I go to a restaurant, I order a chicken and an egg just to see which comes first?
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
I like that. 8.75.
Oh, that is good. Paul and Illyria.
It's kind of a cliched chicken and egg, all that, but he gave it a little
more substance.
Twist, a little twist.
Yeah. Well, the yoke's on us. This from P. Hodge. Les, how come I couldn't get a date this Valentine's Day, but my milk carton had a date February 14th? It's a pun. It had the date of when it gets sour.
3.09.
Hey, this is not a bad batch, and Mr. Gullible is not involved. By the way, Mr. Gullible called me the other day on 92.3 The Fan, and he started talking, and he said, how come such and such? Because the sky is the limit. It turns out Mr. Gullible is the I man.
So
unless
really,
it was just a great imitation of him.
In that interaction, you were the gullible one.
Yeah. Yeah. John Patrick. Les and Bud. Doesn't that sound sincere when they say Les and Bud?
Yes, yes.
How come cowboys in the Old West just didn't make their towns big enough for everybody? This town's not big enough for both of us. So just make them bigger.
Okay. I fault myself for that.
You lost. I lost you 3 quickies ago.
I still think it was fairly strong, but I didn't follow along.
All right, let's try it again.
Okay.
Can't find it. How come the transplants? No, that's a different one.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
that was a pretty good.
I think it was good, but see what happened is
somebody tried to sneak one by us.
I scored the first one in 8.8.
Yeah.
Hoping to leave room, and then I never gave one higher than that.
So that was
this
for
is the smoke.
procrastinator?
This is the smoke alarm one. This is the peace and quiet during dinner.
You don't hate any of these, do you? Don't you give them A's for effort?
Yeah. The heart before the course, I
didn't think you'd get.
I gave it a low grade because I don't want to encourage you. Because that's your kind of outcome.
You give it a low grade because you think I'm a low grade moron. Give me that. We got to save that for next week.
This or this?
This.
Okay.
I'm going to save it for the book.
Overall, it was a better attempt than
other days.
Than John-Beilein's first year as a Cavs coach.
Do you think somebody else will give him a chance in the NBA?
No, but I bet he walks into a really good college job, and he probably feels like he's young enough now, still young enough to.
28 games. Come on, bring him on.
Yeah, come on.
Once a week.
I wondered why he didn't stick it out for the full season.
Yeah. Especially when.
But
I don't even know what the record
once the story came out, I think we all knew that you can't walk back in there with that group of guys knowing that you're looking at the exit sign.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's just it seems to me he should have been able to foresee that the wins and losses were going to be like this. Not the 30-point losses, but he thought there'd be improvement. But he had to know it was going to be this bad from people he talked to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do from here. I assume it's going to be Bickerstaff taking over his position, and look at what they've gone through, Les, from Mike Brown to Ty Lue to
no different than the Indians or the Browns rather.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for us. Great job by Bud Shaw. You can see him on WKYC.com. And what website where they can join you?
You just said it. WKYC.com.
I just said that.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow. We've
TV
got, who do we have here tomorrow?
Dan Labby.
And we'll have Phil Bova. It's 35th anniversary of Bobby Knight's chair throw. He's the one who was thrown at. He missed. We'll have Phil here on Thursday. That'll do it for us. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.